Good morning to one and all. I welcome you for this AICTE ISTE sponsored refresher induction program on value-based education system on currents and future scenario. Here we are for the day 4, session 1. The topic is going to be on transformational leadership, the mantra for a value-based education system. And it's going to be delivered by Dr. K. Padmanabhan, Professor, VIT University, Vellore. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Now I request Professor Dr. R. Murugan, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Panimalar Institute of Technology, to introduce the guest for us.
Thank you, Amos. So it is my honor to introduce my guide and guru, Dr. Padmanabhan, to the participants. Dr. Padmanabhan K. took his BSc in physics with the first class from Madras Presidency College in the year 1984. He then took his MSc physics with material science from Annamalai University, Chidambaram, with the first class degree. He then proceeded to secure MSc Engineering and PhD in Engineering degrees in the field of fiber reinforced composites from the Department of Materials Engineering, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, in the year 1991 and 95 respectively, with the distinction. Prior to that, he had a work experience in the area of high temperature ceramic superconductors and silicon semiconductors. After his PhD in engineering, he was a visiting scientist to the National Air Force Laboratories, Bangalore, NAL Bangalore, in their prestigious Hansa all-composite aircraft program. He has been a postdoctoral fellow with the Nanyang Technical University, Singapore, a guest researcher with the University of Delaware, USA, a guest faculty at IIT Madras, and a research fellow with the Innovations in Manufacturing System Technology program of Singapore Massachusetts Institute of Technology Alliance, Singapore. He joined the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Sri Venkateswara College of Engineering, Chennai in June 2005 as a professor, and he was shouldering the department's research initiatives for nearly 5 years. Presently, he is a professor and till recently he was the assistant director of the Center of Excellence in Nanocomposite in the School of Mechanical Engineering at the VIT University, Vellore. His center, Nanocomposite Center, secured high funding from government agencies and organizations. He has handled and successfully completed many prestigious funded and consultancy projects to the tune of a few crores. He has more than 270 publications in international journals, international conference proceedings, project documents, and reports in the area of composites and nanocomposite materials and their design. He has also authored a textbook on Kevlar fiber composites and many book chapters. He has recently filed for 3 patents on metal polymer composites, composite yawl, and biopolymer-based polymer composite for electronic packaging. Dr. Padmanabhan is a life fellow of the Indian Institute of Production Engineers, Bangalore, Institution of Engineers, India, Kolkata, and the Indian Association of Structural Engineers, New Delhi. He is also a life member and a chartered engineer with the Confederation of Engineers India. The Indian Society of Mechanical Engineers, Chennai, conferred the Senior Life Fellow status to him recently. In the year 2018, he has been inducted as an Indo-Malaysian Life Fellow of the Society of Innovative Educationalists and Scientific Research Professional. Recently, he has participated in Leadership for Academician program sponsored by MHRD India, which is held at Cambridge University, UK. He has guided 5 PhDs and is currently guiding many PhD scholars, master's students, and BTech students. So he received many awards and recognition. So to name a few, He received Innovative Technologist and a Dedicated Teacher Award from Society of Professional Engineers in the year 2017. He is recipient of Best Professor in Mechanical Engineering from Indian Society of Mechanical Engineers in the consecutive years 2017 and 18. He received Abdul Kalam Best Mentor Award from VIT University in the years 2018 and 2019. He has received Albert Nelson Lifetime Achievement Award in the year 2018. He was one among the 4 professors to file the Institution of Eminence (IOE) application for VIT Vellore and secure the distinction in 2019, and many more accolades to his name. So he is a sensitive environmentalist, an adept cricketer, and a musician who is fond of history, traveling, wildlife, and writing. So we are very happy to have this uh, Professor Batmanaban with us. So I hand over the session to Professor Batmanaban.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dr. Murugan.
Thank you.
I really do not know whether I live up to all this. I'll have to make a humble request that you listen to me, and then in case I say anything that you may not agree with, let us discuss it, and let's begin the presentation. Like, I would like to begin the presentation now. Like, can you
Yes, Professor. Slide is
can you
visible.
see the screen? Can you see the PPT?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll begin. So the title that I had given Dr. Murugan and Dr. Amos was on transformational leadership, the mantra for a value-based education system. Well, my whole job is to make the picture or a blurred picture or the unclear picture clearer. Well, I cannot say that I'll make it clearest in about 1 hour or 1 hour 10 minutes. That's going to be very difficult, but I'll try to make it clear. Well, Swami Vivekananda said the duty of a leader is to make his students and make his subordinates and colleagues think and not just learn something blindly. Because when you learn something blindly, you don't really learn to think a lot. The purpose that you have is what you have. No one is looking at you. So I put a lion's face here. But the lion doesn't care whether it's a deer or whether it's a monkey or whether it's a bear. Like, it is itself by itself. Well, in our culture and tradition and our own heritage, there's a saying, this one is mine, this one is somebody else's. Nothing narrow-minded people, but for broad-minded persons, the entire universe, globe, world is one whole family. So I am Nija Paro Vayeti, Nanana Laku Chetasam, Udara Charitanam to Vasudeva Kudumpalam. Ethics. Before I get into leadership and transformational leadership, I would like to show you a few slides on what the prerequisites are. Ethics is a system of moral principles which is decided by a group of persons, an organization, a culture, or a society, or even every member of that profession is expected to abide by those which control and govern the behavior of a person according to the norms and others. Ethics attempts to answer the basic questions of the human morality, such as what should be a standard way for people to live in? What are the appropriate actions in the given situations? What should be an ideal human conduct? Ethics describes, or ethics rather describes, what is morally correct and incorrect in a given situation and prescribes the do's and don'ts. Ethics determine which values are considered virtues or wishes by the society. Ethics are a guide to a person for making the right option or choice. Once you have agreed upon the ethical requirement for a societal need or a transformation leadership need, or any kind of an activity that you engage for higher education, you need to know the values, which are defined as the principles and ideals, which helps a person in making the judgment of what is more important? Values exist in the mind and are independent of public affirmation. Values are independent of public affirmation. The media might tell you something, but the values are different. The media might not echo the values, but they may report a bad event. Some examples of values considered virtuous by the society are respect to parents, helping the needy, simplicity, charity, integrity, rejecting bribes, then respecting the purity of material and thoughts, and then respecting the purity of environment. Now, one need not have an agreement or consent or acceptance from others for valuing something in his actions or life. You may have a pet cat and then you may value him a lot. So you don't need others' consent. Values are stimuli for thinking. They differ from person to person. Advise or guide what we wish to achieve. Determine or discriminate between choices based on level of importance and motivate people to do better in life. If to motivate people to do better in life, you need a lot of values. Otherwise, you can't. Some values are inborn, some are inculcated later. Values are taught by a teacher only through demonstration. A student learns the most by teachers' actions rather than lectures alone. Some values are considered good by the society and some as bad. Well, now, as we have gone through some basics of ethics and values that are required for a good leader, first just check are we eligible to be a good mentor? What are the requisites for a mentor? You need to train, you need to motivate, you need to advise, you need to success, you need to impart success, you need to impart a sense of success, you need to be successful. You need to show them the directions, you need to teach, coach, train, develop skills in others, and you need to set the goals for others, including yourself. You need to set the goals in order to motivate others and train others, and you need to give all the moral support, skill support, and the developmental support. A senior or more experienced person or mentor is assigned to act as an advisor, counselor, or a guide to a junior or trainee. The mentor is responsible for providing support and feedback. You have to give a feedback to them, telling them, okay, this is where you went wrong, this is what where you can improve, and so on. What is the factor finally that distinguishes an excellent leader from a poor one? And there's a thought question. What is it that distinguishes an excellent article from a poor one? That's again the same answer. Like both questions lead you to the same answer. Like how George Orwell said in the satire, political satire on the Russian Revolution called Animal Farm. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Because you have more ethics, more values, more discipline, more skill sets, and you think better for more progress. Change is inevitable and should be intrinsic first. Change is inevitable and it should be intrinsic first. So, what you do is, as change is inevitable and should be intrinsic first, you watch a butterfly where you have the butterfly worm first, and then the pupa. Then from the pupa, butterfly comes out bursting, and it lives for a few days. And after it lives for a few days, or some of them live for a month, they die. Well, this is an evolutionary change. There are morphological changes, evolutionary changes, cosmetic changes, and then inherent changes. Or say you don't change, but you see the world changing for the worse, so you just hold on and you don't want change. A lot of changes, intrinsic, extrinsic, morphological, evolutionary, and so on. Evolution towards artificial intelligence is what is happening today, like the tortuous path towards artificial intelligence, IoT, enabling internet connectivity, communication, holo transportation, and all this is happening. So the role of a transformation leader is to facilitate a lot of automation also. That's another point that I want to make. You can see the Homo habilis becoming Homo erectus, becoming Neanderthal, or any other primitive human beings which might or might not have interacted with the Homo sapiens that evolved later about 2 lakh years back. And in the future, you are going to have a completely artificial intelligence enabled human being. Well, what are the requisites of change? What are the requisites of transformation? How is it different from just translation or transaction? And what actually constitutes the transformational change? So, in trust and transition, you need to catalyze change, you need to cope up with transition or change, you need to have a sense of urgency in case change is going to be faster than what you anticipated, and you have to kind of address change, let's say. Sometimes you don't want certain changes, so you may kind of delay. That's a different thing. A realistic patience and being very tough in sticking to your values, ethics, principles, and then values, ethics, principles, and sticking to your values, ethics, principles, being tough, and then dealing things with a firm hand. That's also possible. Because if you're not good enough and you're not perceived enough, let us say, and change is kind of outside, change is too fast, then you've got to toughen yourself, and then you've got to kind of deal with these issues. Now, being empathetic is very important. You have to be tough internally, but at the same time, be empathetic for genuine causes. Have a lot of optimism. Have a lot of optimism, then realism and openness. And you need self-reliance. And you need to trust yourself, you need to believe in yourself, and you need to have faith in others who are loyal to you, who are sincere or honest. Might not have the brains that you have, but if they are all that, you can train and skill develop them, and then develop mutual trust, and then slowly become a leader who is not only transactional but also transformational. Now you can capitalize on strengths, not on weakness, and you can sometimes go against the grain in order to kind of prove a point if you really feel that genuinely some walls have to be broken, like the mental ice, like breaking the ice, or say some inhibitions, or say you can break what is called the trust barrier, or you can break the knowledge barrier, or if somebody feels distance from you just because they think you are big and then they have a complex, you can break it as a leader. So morality is a basis. Now in transformation leadership, there are 5 wheels of importance. You have to translate all your strategy into action without loss. You build strategic relationships and you leverage your emotional intelligence. Not only your emotional intelligence, but also others' emotional intelligence. And you lead through what is called transformation, what is called change, and what is called a slow evolution. Or sometimes like you may have to develop despite a deterioration. A condition might deteriorate, but you still all have enough values, ethics, and the skill sets to tide over this kind of a muck barrier. This kind of a muck barrier. So you need to lead through change, whatever changes, and developing employee capability, improving employee capability through skill set development, emotional intelligence, quotients development, loyalty, and making them comfortable rather than just be compliant. That's another issue. So you leverage everyone's emotional intelligence. Then short-term and long-term goals and plans must be well defined. Short-term and long-term goals must be well defined and planned, and you must be able to strategize and achieve in multiple organization goals. Let's say you have multiple goals, organizational goals. You must be able to strategize and achieve and not do one at a time. Though you might be fond of doing it, you may want to do many things at a time, and you have to perceive change. You must sense that there's going to be a change in such a thing, like artificial intelligence is going to rule, IoT is going to rule, or say automation is going to rule the world. I have to automate my manufacturing system. Well, let's see what is the difference between a transactional and leadership. Leader's source of power is by rank and position in transactional analysis. You start with the rank and you transact, but here in transformational leadership, it's the character and the competence that you have to address such things that are considered more important. Compliance are simply like saying yes sir is transactional, but being committed as a group. So one leader says like we all have to be committed, let us discuss and then come to what the priorities are. That is transformational. Time frame. Normally in transactional leadership, like you don't go for long-term planning, or you can't achieve a lot of long-term design goals and objectives because of your rank and position and compliance-based philosophy or methodology. In transformational leadership, normally it's long-term and it pays for it. Rewards are through pay and promotion in transactional, whereas it's pride and self-esteem, sense of achievement together with commitment, goals, character, and competence is important. Now, transactional analysis lays a lot of emphasis on importance. Supervision, for example. Supervision is not very important in transformational analysis because everyone is expected to have the character, competence, commitment, goals, common goals, and other skill sets and a pride that is necessary for development. Counseling focuses on evaluation of colleagues, subordinates, and others, but in transformational leadership, it's all about development and developing together. In change, the follower behavior is often noticed in transactional analysis, like somebody who transacts better, normally, or somebody who is a leader who transacts a lot with others, and then others transact less, even with each other, because they are not too connected. So it's called the follower behavior. But here, the follower develops an attitude and lots of values because everything moves together. Where leadership is found, it is in leaders' behavior in transactional leadership, whereas it is in the follower's heart, out of loyalty, values, ethics, skills, confidence, self-esteem, other things. Now, the virtues that help in transformational leadership are given here, like you need subject knowledge, good communication skills. You should state the objectives, methods, results, and summary. It should be a loud and clear dynamic model of creating enthusiasm and value and ethics among your colleagues. Link the subject. Link the subject with the colleague's prior experience, should be loud and clear as a dynamic model of creating enthusiasm. Now ensure interaction of the colleagues without any distraction. You should avoid visible mannerisms like like a movie star. Based on assessment and feedback, Based on assessment and feedback, improve the storytelling techniques to suit slow learners. Some of them are slow learners, they are not learners. You should maintain cordial relationship to get your story across. To inspire and impress the subordinates. You should be innovative and very unbiased, and should be a lifelong learner by yourself. Don't push your contribution sidelining the pioneering references, trying to show yourself as a leader, and then you kind of, based on your own contributions, you try to transact with others who miss others' important contributions. You have to transact with everything that you have and that you have understood from others. That becomes a transformation. Put your work in a realistic context and embed it suitably to showcase your contributions to enable proper collaboration. This is very important in transformational leadership. You have to collaborate a lot. Remember, a mistake that makes you humble is a lot better than an achievement that makes you arrogant. Challenge yourself before challenging others. Challenge yourself, introspect, find out where you're strong, then go by a method to challenge others and then make them do better. Or if they're still not doing better and they're kind of challenging you back, that's not proper attitude, disengage. Build on strengths first and then address weakness. Offer choices. Prepare a roadmap that is subject to review down the line as change is inevitable. Once you prepare a roadmap, most of the people don't look back. They'll simply put the roadmap aside. They simply put the roadmap aside and then they'll keep giving all their product overviews, or say meeting overviews, or say outcome overviews, and then whatever the outcomes and the list and then data, and then all that will be churned out every 6 months. But the initial roadmap would be lying somewhere where you would not have revised it or reviewed it according to the perceived change and then surprise changes, other things. Now, as a roadmap has to be changed often, or like it has been reviewed and then revised often, you end up providing a secure environment where perceived changes and disruptive changes, surprise changes are also addressed in a revised roadmap. Now, teach them how to make their tasks manageable. There are manageable tasks and then intangible tasks. So make it manageable. Even at peak responsible activities, the skills must provide a comfort factor for each execution. Even at peak responsible activity, the skills must be provide a comfort factor for easy execution. Use rewards and punishments with caution. You don't reward anybody who are just too loyal to you and then others being murmuring. Help colleagues develop an internal locus control and avoid power struggles like ego struggle or power struggle that base a lot of things, that hotspots unnecessary, reactive attitudes. So be clear and not ambiguous. Develop creativity through activities. Teach them introspection and self-evaluation. Seek their attention and make them competitive and more perfect, rather than just complying with you or say being happy with the day. Leadership and teaching are instructive, didactic, directive, or developmental. I need an answer from you. Any participant Can you tell me what leadership and teaching are and then why you think so? Yes, come on. Why do you think leadership and teaching are either instructive, didactic, directive, or developmental?
It should be developmental, sir.
It should be developmental. Yes, madam, you are right. You are absolutely right. What is the reason?
As a leader, we should uh, be the role model of everything, sir. And we should give initiative for the developments in all aspects, sir.
Okay, that's a good answer. We must have all the avenues and then resources for all developmental activities. So leadership and teaching is basically developmental rather than being instructive or directive. Good answer. Now, a very important thing for a transformation leader. If it's a steam engine or a diesel engine locomotive, it works whether it works from behind or front. But we are live. We go by bullock carts or ox carts or horse drawn carts. Don't put the cart before the ox. Okay, sometimes it happened in history. Some inventions didn't take care of all the principles, but they still invented. Like, the Titanic ship, they didn't know ductile brittle transition. And then the jet plane, they didn't know enough computation, fluid dynamics, or finite element methods, but it still flew. But for transformation leadership, you have to be very careful, perceiving change, perceiving surprises, coping up with surprises, coping up with disruption. So if you are too risky as a leader, of course, like you can take some calculated risks, but you cannot take too many risks. You cannot take too many risks. So don't ever put the cart before the ox. Transformation leadership in teaching excellence, I want to kind of tell you certain basics. The new education policy has a good quality measure, equity measure, inclusivity, and it provides for a lot of knowledge creation. Provides for a lot of knowledge creation and a lot of innovation. So it normally seeks to develop holistically the individuals, the focus on development of higher abilities and 21st century skills and lifelong learning skills have been spelled out in the new education policy. It's actually a very good policy where there has been a lot of focus on three developmental skills for students like cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. You do an experiment with molding, or you do an experiment with the software, that is psychomotor. Affective skills are about emotional growth and interpersonal development. Affective skills are emotional growth and interpersonal development. Cognitive skills are normally aimed at improving your thinking and problem solving abilities. You all know about the old Bloom's taxonomy, where knowledge is at the base, comprehension and application come later. Then analysis, synthesis, and evaluation are put above. But there is a difference that you might notice that some people might want to put creation or synthesis on top of everything, evaluation or assessment. That's what happened in the new Bloom's taxonomy. You learn to remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and then create or produce new original work where you do a new design, assembly, construction, or say formulate or conduct a proper investigation and submit a design report on a new design. Why am I saying these things? A transformational leader must know all these things so that you can understand a student's or an employee's transition or transformation from merely understanding and applying things to becoming a better analyst or a better evaluator, creating some new things in the process. In Dave's psychomotor taxonomy, you imitate, then you manipulate. Like when the professor teaches, you first imitate, like you do what as he says, and then you manipulate, like you do a better design. Because the professor didn't tell you to create some kind of a resist or a shameful in one location, you added it. That's manipulation. Actions performed through memorization or following directions and sometimes improving them too. This is manipulation. Precision. Performance becomes more exact and actions are more precise. Like you learn to do a particular thing with geometry, dimensioning, and tolerance. That's precision. Several skills can be performed together in a harmonious way through articulation sometimes. That's really talent. And high level of performance is achieved with actions becoming second in nature. So that is naturalization, where high level of performance is achieved with some of the mundane actions becoming out of the second nature. Now, Gann's 9 events of instruction for a teacher to be a good leader, good motivator, and good transformation expert lies in gaining attention, informing the learner of the objective, stimulating recall of prior knowledge by posing questions, feedback, and then other prior class assignments, presenting information, providing guidance, eliciting performance. You provide guidance and then extract a lot of performance. Provide a feedback on how they did. Assess performance. Provide a feedback and then like this is how this project should have been, this those skills should have been done. In the lab, like this is what you should do. Some people complain saying then why did they get low marks, and you tell them. Assessing in performance. Assess performance and enhance retention and assess the performance and enhance retention and transfer. So the retentivity of knowledge in a person will move up slowly when you teach them and they'll understand where they did the mistakes and they improve. And knowledge transfer becomes more and more based on a strong basis. So what you end up doing is from a diffuse learning to conceptual learning, from diffuse learning, you're moving the people to what's called conceptual learning. There's a need for transformational teaching in the present scenario. Now add the Guru Shishya Parampara learning system and adapt Western models only to suit Indian spirituality, national priorities, and our own moral values. This is very important. Value and satisfaction are important rather than just commerce. So success lies in satisfaction. Corporate benefits are only materialistic. There is a Cambridge model for student outcomes, which I went through during the leadership program training. What attributes do we develop in our graduates? Analytical, collaborative, communicative, being contextually aware, because contexts are different. You cannot say the same thing everywhere, including commercial, societal, political, ethical, and environmental factors. If it's environment, we are sometimes harsh. If it's politics, we are again very harsh. But if it comes to an ethical context, we try to play the saint. And if it is social, we go by the group that we are in. If it's commercial, all of us are greedy. Now, so this is a bare fact of being contextually aware. You can get away saying something about a politician, but ethically you cannot get away saying anything. Be creative. Be critical and independent. Be grounded and practical. And be inclusive and culturally agile. And interdisciplinary values like engineering, management, then dealing with stakeholders. That's really interdisciplinary. You know, you have a vendor, you have a customer, then you have management, then you have the investor. That's really interdisciplinary. Being responsible, like being professional and ethical in commitment with respect for good practice and codes of conduct. These are all the expected model student outcomes according to the Cambridge University model. Now, only a transformational leader, not a transactional or a mundane leader or a regular teacher, can achieve them. Why? Because transformational leaders collaborate better, communicate better, are contextually more aware of change, perceived change, impending change, necessary change, and disruptive or surprise change. Sometimes they can perceive better, like there's going to be a disruption, fine. They are more critical and independent, though they work in a team. They're grounded and practical because loyalty, heart, competence are more important than mere compliance. They are more inclusive. And they're also highly interdisciplinary because they are transformational. They simply don't transcend the existing things. There is a progressive change, and that leads to transformation. You are rated by what you produce, not what you attempt. You may attempt 10 different things and succeed in 2. I try 3 or 4 things, I succeed in 2 things. I'm better. I don't waste much time. Well, let's have a mock at this, what you attempt and then what you produce. In primary schools, you learn 1, 2, 3. Then you learn basic operations, geometry. High school, you learn algebra and trigonometry. Universities are +2 and beyond, you learn complex numbers, partial differential equations. Partial differential equation, integration, advanced calculus in universities. Finally, when you join a job, you are made to do Excel sheet. You know, Q1, Q2, Q3 profit, and then costing, like 50 rupees of consumable, 500 rupees of this would be the costing. I added up everything, 10% overhead. This is what you do. Now, many students who excel in their BTechs and MTechs or BSc or MSc or BCom, whatever it is, when they go for a job, they end up doing only a few things that they do. There's a severe loss there. In transformational leadership, you can perceive all the competence that somebody is capable of doing, benchmark better, perceive better, put forth goals and other things in a better manner, and extract more out of it. They'll only be happier to remember what they learned. This is one huge gap that I see, a challenge for transformational leadership. You take a lot of employees, you set them simple goals, you don't challenge them enough, you don't challenge yourself first of all. So you can't. So you can't challenge yourself. So you won't set good goals or good benchmarks. That's what you have to do. Digital learning, where most of the classroom learning basics are applied to digital learning, expecting the same outcome. So we have to assess whether the outreach is the same as in classroom learning. The outreach and outcomes are not the same as in classroom learning. It's not the same as in classroom learning, it's lesser. Though Corona has accelerated digital learning, it should not be the story of liberty ships built during World War II that couldn't last so long. The COVID effect must be understood for sustainable outcomes. Well, I'm taking a few slides from some of the colleagues who presented in different teams during our leadership for academic program, University of Cambridge, IIT Kharagpur, MHRD training program. There's a paradigm transition that you need for undergraduate education excellence. Why? Let's address that first. People come from school to college or university. Now, you see the cartoon, what it comes down to is your students have trouble understanding you, and the teacher is merely a loudspeaker. Best teachers do a lot of facilitation, a lot of knowledge sharing, knowledge gaining, and skill development. Skill development is very important because your right hand does left brain activities and your right brain does a lot of activity with the left hand. So, on the left brain, you have language, analytical training, numbers, maths, other skills. The right brain, the right side of the brain, you have creativity, then a lot of imagination, emotional intelligence, and expression. Now, you need a kind of a neurotransmitter based balanced thinking, where the left and the right work in tandem or in collaboration. Rather, they learn to collaborate with each other rather than you using the right brain or left brain in excess of others. In that case, you won't get a balanced problem solving skill. For example, when you design something in CAD, learn finite element methods, solve it numerically, but see everything visually, you're using both the left brain and right brain. A transformational leader has to understand this, spot the weakness in employees, and then if they need to upskill on that, you need to develop that as well. What? Now, there's a cartoon again. Can you help me, Mrs. Green? This wasn't covered in any of my education courses. The cupboard is full of junk that they have not understood yet, and it's already exam time. So you teach them skill development, project-based learning, internships. They learn to field work or work in the fields from what they have learned. Learn through practice. They do supervised learning. Again, like you improve their thinking rather than merely their learning. So there's an opportunity to be a mentor, opportunity to train, opportunity to develop a lot of good experience. And then what you do is you work with, then you work with, once you work with new ideas or ideate or do conceptual ideation. Conceptual ideation, they can put all that they've learned into practice and learn through practice. What are the expectations of the students if you are a transformational leader, and how do you plan to meet those expectations? Identify problems correctly, ideate, then solve designs, and implement properly. How? Revisit admissions. Each time you've got to revisit admissions and try to get better program that meets your curriculum requirements that are increasingly being revised. Sensitize stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? Parents. If it's an institution, parents are stakeholders, students are stakeholders. Education is the outcome or the product, not the students. Knowledge. So foundation knowledge is what you've got to build through responsibility, vision, development, innovation. Guidance, connection. Connection, integrity, trust. Then growth, ideation, excellence, and focus. So you need so many skill sets. You need so many talents in order to sensitize the stakeholders, revisit admissions, and improve the foundational knowledge. What are the enablers? Learning enablers are through life experiences, self-learning, original thoughts, example classes, including skill and practice development, and then feedback, and a lot of awareness being created. Awareness being created. Now, when you assess based on presentations, reports, demonstrations, online demonstrations. Evaluation by mentors and learning curves where the experience is rated by the jury. What are the outcomes? You get a beautiful tree with a real life experience that's based on foundations. Like what they say, the roots of education are bitter, but the fruits or the outcomes are sweeter. The foundation courses with minors and majors and specializations give you a beautiful tree. That would be the outcome. So you need a kind of a transformational approach, not merely a transactional approach that accepts things as they are, or rather kind of transacts with what you are presently. So the entire word transactional leadership is slowly giving way to transformational leadership. But of course, you have to understand transactional first. Values, supports, and reflections are the outcome. You inherit more value, you learn to support better, and you learn to reflect better. Now let's move over to research. which is the final part of my lecture. This is again from one of the teams that presented along with us during the program at Cambridge and IIT Kharagpur, sponsored by Machari. Why research excellence and what is the connection with transformational leadership? The present institute that we have, or institutes that we have, are a socio-cultural hub with faculty, students, technicians. We've got the best of infrastructure, mostly. But the mandate of the institution, like any other institute, lies in education, innovation, fund generation, socio-economic development of the nation is again the focus based on the mandates that we have. Fund generation sometimes becomes a problem if you are self-financed. To achieve academic excellence and performing the mandate effectively, research excellence is a must. The impact of research excellence can be rated through international visibility, ranking, trust value, and brand value, publications, patents, citations, innovations. Through sponsored research, industrial consultancy, continuing education and digital learning activities, and improved teaching, learning, and graduate attributes. Improved teaching, learning process and graduate attributes. How many of us are studying abroad? How many of us are in the alumni association? How many of them feed back into the parent institution? Now, in the present status of the institutes, let's do a SWOT analysis of some of the best institutes. What we normally have, what our weaknesses are, what the opportunities are, and what the challenges are. It's called a SWOT analysis: strength, weakness, opportunity, challenge analysis. Best of the brains, yes, definitely, no doubt. IT competency, yes, quite a few of them have. Then alumni base in the universities, most of the universities have them. Recent government research initiatives being practiced, yes. Recent government research initiatives are being practiced. And do they adopt to the new education policy? Yes, they do. Weakness, poor industry participation. Check the number of universities with consultancy projects or industrial testing facilities or consultancy testing. No, not much. Best brains not oriented towards research. They are engaged in a lot of teaching. PhD outcomes are limited to publications and not anything else beyond publications. For example, you go to ResearchGate, how many of them answer the questions posed by people? They simply post their publications, get good citations, and keep going. Missing research culture. There's a missing research culture. Or government fund dependency is too much. You can't generate your own research funds, or you can't fund your own research, or you can't generate funds through private companies. You can't generate funds through societal activities, non-governmental NGOs. It's very limited. Then per student, poor student teacher ratio. For every teacher, there are 20 students or 25 students. That's not a lot. You have to reach a goal of 10 or less. Opportunities. International collaborations are a big opportunity because of the Indian government. Lots of DST schemes in there. Industry-led research is another opportunity, huge opportunity, because we have a lot of industries. Then problem domains availability. Like there are umpteen problems remaining to be solved. These are all opportunities. What are the challenges? Availability of funds. Then academic visibility, gaining a consistent academic visibility which is sustainable in the long run, that's progressive, growing beyond the baseline is a challenge. So growing beyond or ahead of others, the challenge. And building trust. Like this institute, yes, we trust you completely. Building trust through sustainable growth, development, progress, ethics and values is a challenge. Few incidents finished. They just finished, you know it. So what would be the research strategy that you would adopt as a transformation leader? You recruit competent faculty. Creation of interdisciplinary research groups. Creation of, oh sorry, it's my dongle. So the recruitment of competent faculty is one thing. Creation of interdisciplinary research groups is another thing. Recruitment of industry faculty and adjunct faculty. Recruitment of tenured track for international faculty. Recruitment of proper skilled assistants. Recruitment of competent, loyal, sincere, honest people who do not cook up data, who have high level of visibility already when they come in, who have a lot of sincerity, ethics, values, and a lot of talent. This is very important. Creation of research councils, identification of nice research areas, not going by what is industry for and trying to catch up rather than being ahead. You're trying to catch up sometimes. You go by national priority, local needs. It's need based. They say necessity is the mother of invention. Necessity is the mother of discovery too. Necessity is the mother of ideation, not merely invention. That's when you can go ahead. Now, you provide for a faculty-friendly IPR policy. The intellectual property rights policy has to be faculty-friendly. It should not be too harsh on somebody trying to invent something. Saying I can't use it tomorrow, I can use it only after the pandemic is over. That shouldn't be the idea. Creation of incubation facility is another aspect. Incubate your ideas properly in the technology business incubator or any other incubator, and try to kind of bring out products that are commercially viable. Collaboration with industries, partners, startups, and your own former students is another strategy to adopt. Because all these are because of the perceived change that you want to bring out or perceived change that you have already accepted. Development of industry funded research labs like the Value Lab or like Microsoft Lab, which you might have seen yourself, or the collaboration with international industries and collaboration with international industries and academia, and attracting international funding for faculty and student exchange, and doing continuous assessment of key performance outcomes, or you have to be worried of what is called the key performance indicators, KPI. KPI should not be misunderstood. It should be used for progress, not as a benchmark to 5-year or 10-year indication or indicator. Now you can't have the same indicator throughout, like it keeps being revised like the roadmap that has to be revised often. In faculty-related challenges, the recruitment of quality faculty, retention due to openings in different institutions, industry faculty recruitment through existing recruitment rules, fulfilling the aspirations for foreign faculty, and aligning faculty with industry collaboration is a very important thing, because research, like has two things in it. One is a long-term academic research goal. The other one is a industry-based collaborative research goal, which has to be fostered. So every faculty goes through this if he is doing consultancy projects as well as 3 or 5 year academic projects. So you need to be fast on one side and then very slow and methodical on the other side. So let's see how the roadmaps are subject to revisions when you try to align with your teaching, learning, or the research goals. Don't prepare a roadmap and then keep it there, and then after 1 year you won't be able to even display it. Faculty recruitment, research strategy, collaborations, lab preparation, identification of research areas, and interdisciplinary group formation are what you have put forth in the roadmap in 2022. In 23-25, you submit proposals, go for seed funding, IPO policy making, incubation facility building, and so on, and review the proposals and revise the roadmap. And then do what are called remedial measures. Within 5 years, you have got to completely remedy everything, set everything right, and see to it that all your strategies that you have dreamed of in 2022 are beginning to be realized or are fully realized through remedial measures. Well, coming to my own presentation that I did with my colleagues, we did a presentation on achieving and sustaining research excellence through transformational leadership. Excellence in research for societal impact. Excellence in research for societal impact is basically about research that makes a difference. Addressing problems of current and future societal needs is based on choosing the right targets. For example, you can't choose, the role of IoT in something that is more easily done or easier done. Fundamental research leading to new discoveries may take a long time but are very impactful. That's academic research. Research translating into deliverables in reasonable time are based on trust, mutual trust with industries, demonstrating trust building, demonstrating trust building, demonstrating capabilities, and building values. Reputation of the institute preferred destination for faculty, students, industry, and other stakeholders. In knowledge of for high quality, you rely on excellent minds working with target-oriented objectives. You generate excellent, trustworthy manpower to make a difference And this is an essential mandate of the academic institutes. Identification and motivation of people leads to a good research culture and brings all on board because people make a difference. You support fundamental research, identify target areas, and provide full support, and provide interdisciplinary communities through proper research planning. That's very important for a transformation leader to plan research, like cancer or aerodynamics or communications. Know how. Financial planning. The root of everything is seed grants, research grants, government, alumni endowment, industry planning, industry financial planning, core research grant planning, industry relevant R&D, startup research grant, intensification of research in high priority areas, or funds for improvement in S&T infrastructure, or creating facilities, and so on. So you support creation of institute central facilities through proper financial planning and creation of research science parks, technology incubators, venture initiatives, consultancy centers, test facilities through the recent government's SATI program. In SATI program, they are giving prime institutes up to 120 crores to set up state-of-the-art facilities to help industries come and do their manufacturing or testing here. Promotion of impactful consultancy can be achieved through industry connects, research incomes, because you can't simply publish paper. You need income through research, through proper IP commercialization. Somebody like trying to follow your publication and do a startup, and you writing a book and generating income rather than publishing a single paper, or say you publish a single paper, no doubt, no problem, but you publish books also generate some income, like 5%, 10% of it goes to you. You get a 5% in 10% pay once the book sells. Like if it's 100 euros, you get about 10 euros as a pay. Research income and societal impact, or how creating societal impact, or how you promote impactful consultancy. Commercialization after realization must be a focus because you can't generate income from just research publications. You need to be strong on technology transfer, IP, writing books and chapters, and then getting 5% or 10% incentives and so on. So vision, people, plan, and politics should be the motto of a transformation leader. Strengthen PhD and a strong postdoctoral program is again a must, like tapping PhDs in the post-PhD initiative, the postdoctoral program, which leads to building a better backbone for research and more industry nexus. You can have industry-funded projects where you generate more income. Try to kind of publish a lot from funded projects. But you don't end up like if you have used 50 lakhs and then publish a lot of papers, you will generate more avenues for commercialization. So like that's one, like if you are commercially oriented along the fast track, on the fast track, that is very important. Now, keeping abreast of latest developments. Keeping abreast of latest developments using library resources, digital resources, and knowledge resources It's very important for a transformation leader to tap areas, talents, where to go, to seek directions, and to ideate and implement and find out knowledge gaps. Knowledge gaps are not only gaps, some are open-ended. I wouldn't call open-ended things where people have stopped at a particular stage and where you go beyond that as a knowledge gap. Knowledge gap is something where somebody doesn't do something in between. Somebody builds an aluminum alloy and then does something. Somebody builds the same aluminum alloy and does something else. And you see a gap between these two, you fill the gap. Don't go for gaps much. Go for open-ended problems. Rigorous periodical, I would stop in the next 5-10 minutes. Rigorous periodical peer review and understanding metrics are a very important thing. Linkage to promotion creates excellence in research, recognition for students and faculty, and you must also know how to gently keep the pressure to perform. Otherwise, no, there is a comfort factor that would make people feel comfortable at a lower level. They have to feel comfortable at a challenging level. That improves their performance, competence, and abilities. Now, moving ahead with the demands of time and societal needs, we move ahead with demands of time and societal needs. Through strong internationalization, MOUs, exchange programs, campus programs, and collaborations. And you also have to consider foreign import substitution. Through economical indigenization. So that's a very important aspect of a transformation leader. As the country is going through a lot of transition and transformation, you've got to address this rather religiously through economical indigenization. Now, how do you build reputation? Through teaching and learning, society and environment, industry, industrial collaboration activities, innovations and new inventions, global ranking, and excellent and trustworthy manpower can build reputation and create a lot of impact. So, a transformation leader must be a good teacher first, must be a good learner, as I told you, must be caring about society and environment, sustainable growth, must be having an industry-based fast-track approach along with an academic research approach, must believe in innovations and new inventions, must see global ranking and breed excellent and trustworthy manpower. So, what I would sum up it as is pride. Performance in research for institutional demonstrated excellence. Let's now wind up with educational models for societal educational model for societal and economical development. Now, in institutional models, which could be private held by an individual, family, group, or a public university, there isn't much. In organizational models held by an individual, family, a group, a trust, or a public firm, with investments in industries, education institutions, media, and leisure, and so on, again, there isn't much. In a corporate model, where you have one of the above or both, with a corporate management approach and an outcome-based economic benefits and knowledge benefits and societal benefits, there's something. But that's not the end according to the Cambridge model. It says you go for an enterprise model where a collaborative and joint effort between the educational institutions and the stakeholders like industry, startups, innovators, research laboratories, and others through partnerships that lead to a lot of sustainable outcomes in the long run is what you have aimed for a complete benefit. In the Cambridge University's business innovation ecosystem model, the strategy is to go to them rather than come to me. Come to me strategy is unreasonable, uncompromising, and unapologetic. Like somebody sitting in a room and then demanding everybody come and see. Or just sending an occasional, mail. Go to them strategy is based on going to the grassroots level, talking to the students, assistants, why other workers, faculty, and deans and others, or say industries, or the stakeholders or parents, are understanding a lot for transformation. Teaching, learning, and research should be a model based on developmental teaching and learning as opposed to instructional and directive deep learning, like flipped analysis or flipped model. The student-centric approach should be practiced as they are the majority learners. Of course, each time when you teach the same course, the student-centric approach should be practiced as they are the majority learner. Of course, when you take a course and then each time when you teach the same course, you learn more and more, you upgrade. That's a different thing, but they are the majority learners. Applied research for slow and academic sustainable development and fast-track corporate gains as the two different pathways must be practiced. If you're doing an academic research that is sustainable and it should be long-term, but if you're doing a consultancy, they want results in 2-3 years, provided the company is fast enough as you've got to deal with an industry 4 ready approach as two different pathways. Now, IIT Kharagpur has developed an ERP package which will take care of transport, student management, academics, financial accounting, payroll management, library management, paperless office management, stock, alumni engagement, everything in a single package. So based on your eligibility or level of position in the hierarchy, you'll get your eligibilities, priorities, or your login credentials. This is very important for transformation leadership as you don't waste time writing, signing papers. It's very fast. It creates what's called an efficient time management. Now, like, what does the transformation leader got to do with Industry 4? Big data analytics, autonomous robots, simulation, horizontal and vertical system integration. You have to understand product architectures and industry verticals and horizontal system integration aspects. Industrial Internet of Things. Augmented reality, additive manufacturing, the cloud, and cybersecurity. So this is what all this Industry 4 is about. So you enable these things as an enabler. Enable these things as an enabler. Learn to simulate better, invest in additive manufacturing, understand product architectures, virtual and augmented reality based initiatives and ventures, using IoT for all benefits, sustainability, and redoing statistics with an eye on big data analytics. I am not too fond of this. I mean, I would rely on basic statistics, probability, heuristics, stochastic, and other things. Big data analytics may be a packaging. Most of these are packaging, packaging of some basic science things that some people end up forgetting before they get on these things. So be careful. An overview of the Sustainable Development Goals is what you have to be very, very knowledgeable about. There are 17 sustainable goals as spelled out by sustainabledevelopment.un.org. No poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being. Quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitization. Affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth. Industry recognition, infrastructure, inequality, motivation, sustainable cities and communities like smart city development, responsible consumption and production. Climate action, then life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, partnerships for the goals. So all these are spelled out in the sustainabledevelopment.un.org site. You have to know as a transformation leader that sustainable development is the model. Accreditation for NAC, ABED, and IET are more in the offering. So as a transformation leader, you've got to know about records, documenting, methodologies, tools employed, improvements, achievements, and get a good feedback. In ranking frameworks like NIRF, QS, and Time Higher Education and the like, you got to move up as BET is now planning to move up into QS 200. We are already QS 350 to 500 nearly. Now, you need to have proven storytelling success records as benchmarks for ranking exercises. You must know how to tell a story clearly through documentation, data keeping, developing data after ideating and implementing it. Repeatability is within, whereas reproducibility is what even other labs or other people can do if they copy you. You must be reproducible. Vision, value, and visibility are the 3 V's for an inclusive growth. Well, This is a transformation, which is a different phase. Like I'm also into some wildlife funding and music, like teaching Carnatic music or say promoting Carnatic music through guitar, and the Carnatic or Hindustani music or Indian traditional music. Is the blurred picture clear, sir?
Thank you very much, Professor.
Yeah.
Dear participants, if you have any questions,
Yeah, I finally stop with Aham Brahmasmi. Thank you and questions.
participants, if you have any questions, you can ask a professor. And if you're not able to unmute yourself, you can put it on the chat box and I can read it for you. So there's a question, should understand the surroundings to take a lead.
Any questions?
Participants? So when you were telling about the surroundings, Dr. S. Chinna Ramu, professor, he has asked a question. We should understand the surroundings and then take a lead. Was it relevant, sir?
Professor, thank you, Professor.
Yeah, like what is the question? Let me come back to you. Yeah, you must be careful about the surroundings, and then because man is a societal and then social animal, first of all, by civics definition. So, like you must have a care for surroundings, and then like if somebody is incompetent, you've got to breed the culture of competency and then move him up. And then if someone else is hostile, you've got to remove his hostility. And if finally if nothing works, like you can only send the person off. For sustainable development and then societal needs and then societal importance, it's very important to know the surroundings very well and transact and then accept change and transform. Mere transaction doesn't lead to improvement or say perceived change related progress.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions, dear participants? All right, so we have come to the end of day 4, session 1. That was Dr. K. Padmanabhan, sir, for all of you. He's a professor from VIT University, Vellore. The topic was on transformational leadership, the mantra for a value-based education system. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Professor, for your valuable time and wonderful session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Murugan. I thank Panimalar Institute for the wonderful opportunity. You have been repeatedly kind to me, and then I hope that I have fulfilled all your needs, and then we'll have more of working relationship. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. You're most welcome, sir. So the next session will be at 11 a.m. and it'll be on tools for the modeling and optimizing the research data by Dr. R. Vimal Samsing. He's an associate professor from SSN College of Engineering. So I request all the participants to stay back, and at 11 a.m. we'll be starting the next session. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you.